Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. It is ICR Daredevil back with another episode in our TNA series in TEW 9. It is time for Destination X. Which was an awkward spot for me to stop. For those who don't know, maybe you're in the future and watching this currently, so you don't know. I took about a month off from content creating, a little bit more than a month actually. And so it's kind of a awkward spot to just randomly come back to because it is pay-per-view time here in the TNA series. But I feel like we did a pretty good job with it. Anyway, we have the Destination X pay-per-view here tonight. It's kind of a weird show because it's not really, there's no X Division title match. There's not really a number one contenders match for the X Division Championship. But, of course, we do have the kind of the rule in play, where, of course, remember that Jay Lethal being in the Bound for Glory series means that anybody who defeats him, because he is the X Division champion, anybody who defeats him does get a shot at the title. Here tonight, he will be in action. In fact, he's opening up the show in BFGS action against D'Angelo Dinero, so that could be huge. If Dinero can pick up the victory here at Destination X, then maybe he can end up with a shot at the X Division Championship. But of course, non-BFGS action. I'm trying to make that a thing because it's kind of a long thing to say, the Bound for Glory series. But in non-BFGS action, we of course have the Open Challenge for the Knockouts Championship here tonight. Velvet Sky defending against whoever that Maria Kanellis has in mind. She has somebody in mind that Velvet has to defend against, and we'll have to see who that ends up being. We also have Bad Influence, who for weeks now have been having issues with Kurt Angle and Charles Betts, so they're going to be having their tag team matchup here tonight to see what ends up happening there. Of course, the last, the other time that they fought in tag team action, they went to a draw. But just this past Thursday on Impact, Christopher Daniels did pin Kurt Angle in the middle of the ring. It was tainted, but he did pin him. So, does that mean that Bad Influence has momentum on their side? We'll have to see. And of course, our main event, tag team action main event, is going to be the unlikely duo of Magnus and Samoa Joe working together to take on MVP and the TNA World Heavyweight Champion Shelton Benjamin. Recent issues have shown that, recently, it seems like Magnus wants a rematch for the TNA World title, especially after not being in the BFGS, and he seems to apparently have found an ally in Samoa Joe, or at least he talked enough to Samoa Joe to convince him to work together with him here tonight, and we'll have to see what ends up happening with that. But yeah, we've got all that and more on this show, and we are going to dive into things with a couple of pre-show matches. We have a few pre-show matches here tonight because we are getting other BFGS action happening. After this card here tonight, after tonight's show here, every single participant in the BFGS will have wrestled 3 matches so far, which means we have about 2 months to do 6 other matches for them. But no, well, it'll be fine. But yeah, so everybody will have wrestled 3 matches by the end of this, and we'll have a better idea a third of the way through of who's really kind of pulling away with the lead and whatnot. So we will have to see how that works. We open up with a BFGS match on the knockout side as Mio Shirai defeats Hikaru Shida on 11-7 by pinfall with an STO to pick up 3 points for herself. 49 rating there. 48 from Mio, 45 from Shida. Good stuff there. So Mio picking up 3 points there, getting herself in better position, and kind of going from there. After that, we go to a sit-down interview with Paul London. 21,418 people at the Fargo Dome for this show, by the way. But we have a pre-taped sit-down interview with Paul London being conducted by Mike Tenay. They're kind of going over, Paul London being a former X Division champion, and kind of the importance of Destination X when it comes to the X Division, at least in the past. And then they kind of talk about the tag title match at Slammiversary and what's going on with Brian Kendrick, and then kind of the future for Paul London. There's not really a whole lot of note. It's kind of what you expect. London says it'd be great to be X Division champion again. But right now he knows the title's kind of tied up at the moment and he can't really get a shot at it. He regrets the tag title match not going their way at Slammiversary, but he knows that they can bounce back. Him and Kendrick are still working out recent issues with them, and that London just wants to continue to prove himself here in TNA. He had a non-title matchup with the world champion a few weeks ago on Impact in a great matchup that a lot of people are talking about, and he wants to continue to prove himself. He was in the ring with the world champion. He couldn't get the job done, but he knows he can keep improving and keep getting better to hopefully get a shot at the world title again in the future. Get an opportunity to face the world champion again in the future, and maybe even get himself in line for a world title shot or whatever else. So 58 rating, not bad here for this. Just kind of a way to kind of continue to build up Paul London a little bit while he doesn't really have a storyline at the moment. Go back to the ring for more BFGS action. It's going to take a second to get used to that acronym. As we see EC3 picking up a victory over Chris Hero in 11:07 by pinfall with 1%er. 65 rating there for that. EC3 able to get the job done here and pick himself up 3 points. So good to see there. 62 from EC3, 60 from Hero. Not bad, actually. Possibly could have been on the main card, but with the other two men's matches happening here tonight, this one was kind of the one I ended up putting on the pre-show. Because, of course, the other two men's matches here tonight, I guess I could have ran that down a little bit, but the other two men's matches here tonight is going to be, as I mentioned already, D'Angelo Del Nero and Jay Lethal in a non-title matchup. And the other one is going to be a big one. It is a rematch from Slammiversary, as it is going to be Abyss one-on-one with Colt Cabana. They are fighting for 3 points, but of course they have that other storyline going on as well right now. I'm sure Jimmy Jacobs will try to be involved in that matchup at some capacity. We'll have to see how it all plays out. And then our other Knockouts BFGS match on the pre-show here sees Io Shirai defeat Kana in 13-14 by pinfall the Moonsault Press. So Kana suffers another loss. That's kind of surprising. 54 rating here for this. 52 from Kana, 50 from Io. So Io able to actually pin Kana in the ring. That's kind of a big deal. Kana was undefeated for quite some time. She was pretty dominant for a while. They lost the Knockouts tag title match. And now she takes a loss here in this BFGS match. So that could end up having some interesting ramifications heading forward. The fact that Kana's, kind of took a loss to Io. I think she might have already taken a loss too. But anyway, so that's kind of a big thing. Might lead to something in the near future as well. We'll have to see. Then we move on to the main portion of the show. We went up with a 72 rated matchup. That's not good. But that's alright. And then about that great heat, DC Wrestling, D'Angelo Del Nero defeats Jay Lethal in 12:49 by pinfall the DDE to pick himself up 3 points. And, as I mentioned earlier with the stipulation, this now grants him a future shot at the X Division Championship that is in Jay Lethal's possession. 72 rating for the match is really good. Lethal with 67, D'Angelo Del Nero with a 57. The part I said wasn't good, however, is the fact that they don't seem to click, and Del Nero won, which means I have to do a rematch in the future between these two. So there's that. As we're gonna have to have another not great chemistry-wise match between the two in the future. But I mean, even with them not clicking, they pulled off a 72. So I don't think I'm gonna have too much of an issue with that. That's still a really good rating for us. But yeah, 72 rating here for that. And like I said, that means that D'Angelo Del Nero is getting a shot at the X Division Championships at some point in the near future, which is big because, of course, if Dinero was to win the title, that would be a second title being brought into the beatdown crew. So, could be a interesting development there with that, but we'll have to see what ends up happening with that. Nevertheless, D'Angelo Dinero getting himself 3 points. That's Jay Lethal's first loss in the BFGS too, so interesting stuff there. Then we have Austin Aries. It was revealed that he was going to be in action here tonight at Destination X. Wanted to prove himself. Robert Roode had that match a couple weeks ago, so he wanted to prove himself here tonight on pay-per-view because he was like, I'm better than you are, Roode, and I have my matches on pay-per-view kind of thing. And he beats Brian Kendrick in 10:55 by submission with the last chance. 70 rating for this match is really good. I mean, Austin Aries definitely carried the matchup, but still, 70 rating for this is really good. But Austin Aries gets the victory here. However, he isn't quite the one standing tall at the end, because afterwards, in 67 rated segment, Austin Aries gets attacked from behind by Robert Roode. Obviously, the toll of the match and being attacked from behind, surprisingly, kind of left Aries in an awkward position that allowed him to not be able to fight back necessarily, and Robert Roode stands tall over him, and Roode kind of yells out, he doesn't have a microphone, but he kind of yells out that Aries isn't on Robert Roode's level before posing to boos from the crowd. So it's kind of countering what Aries said on Impact this past Thursday, where Aries said that Roode wasn't on his level. Roode saying that Aries isn't on his level. So I guess that's kind of what the idea of this feud is it's, they're trying to prove that they're on a level better than, or higher up than their opponent. So we'll have to see what ends up happening with that in the future. 67 though, not bad. We got Chrissy Hemme standing by backstage. She brings in James Storm. Gets revealed that Daredevil made a match here tonight. Storm is taking on the House of Truth in a 6-man tag match, thanks to what happened a couple weeks ago on Impact when Storm and Rhino, that is, went at it to that no contest, and then the All Night Express got involved afterwards in a 3-on-1 beatdown. So Chrissy's like, well, I know you got that match up next, but who's your partners? And Storm says, I don't know what the issues that the House of Truth have with me. I don't know about what their issues are, but I'm not about to get in a fight and let someone get the better of me, no matter how many there are that's going up against me. Now, I would have no problem going out there and whooping all 3 of them myself, but Daredevil said that if I was going to have this match, I had to have 2 partners. So I went out and I found 2 people who, well, in the past, in years past, we've had issues with each other, but they're TNA originals. I know I can trust them to have fight by my side here tonight. And that's when Eric Young and Petey Williams comes into view. Storm kind of turns to him and says, let's go have us a fight before they walk off. So it's going to be James Storm, Eric Young, Petey Williams taking on Rhino and the All Night Express here tonight. Will Storm get a little bit of revenge for what happened? Or will the House of Truth emerge victorious? The House of Truth does not emerge victorious, as in a 64 rated matchup, James Storm, Eric Young, and Petey Williams defeat the House of Truth in 10:29 when Eric Young, that is, pinned Rhett Titus with a wheelbarrow neckbreaker. So 64 rating there as the faces get the victory. Doesn't quite, not sure if it quite ends whatever's going on with Storm and the House of Truth, because of course, Storm will actually, Storm didn't get the victory. It was actually Eric Young that got the victory, but we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening with it. Well, at least on-screen wise, we'll see what ends up happening with this. Off-screen wise, this was just meant to be a filler story thing, so I don't think it's going to go much longer than that. But there you go. Fun little thing here. Faces get the victory, and we'll have to see where things go heading forward. And a 64 rated matchup too. Not bad. But yeah, trying to slightly build Eric Young back up again, because I feel like I've been doing him very dirty in this whole series. The only time I've really done anything much with him was when he won that when he won the Battle Royal to get a shot at Jay Lethal in the X Division Championship. So I'm trying to do a little something with Eric Young at this point, trying to build him back up a little bit. Maybe, not quite to world title contender level, but at least, try to get him somewhere. So we'll have to see where that ends up going. Then after that, we have our only BFGS knockouts match on the main card, just because this was the only one of the three that really worked for this, and because of how many other matches we have on the card. And in a decent matchup, Cheerleader Melissa defeats Serena Deeb in 10:46 by pinfall with a Kudo driver, 60 rating for the match. Good stuff. As Melissa picks up 3 more points in the series. And yeah, looking good there. Deeb put up a valiant effort, but could not get the job done against Melissa, who seems to be kind of in line. She seems to be kind of trying to, doing a lot in this series so far. Doing very successful so far, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see where things end up going for her at the end of it all. But she does pick up the victory over Deeb here in this matchup, in a 60 rated matchup, which is good. I'll take it. We move on. 70 rating. Somehow this suffered from a lack of psychology. Okay. Why was it? It's Abyss and Colt Cabana. Why was this a lack of psychology? Huh. All right. And they only won 13 something. That's weird. Anyway. In a superb matchup, Abyss defeats Colt Cabana 13-27 by pinfall Black Hole Slam. I think that was the result that happened in Slammiversary. I probably should have looked at that ahead of time. During the matchup, Jimmy Jacobs did distract Colt Cabana. I did not pick Abyss to win this matchup. As I've said with all the BFGS matches, I leave it completely open for the game to decide who wins the match. So it is very convenient that this happened. I did put the Jimmy Jacobs distraction on there because I wanted to kind of advance that storyline thing. But, obviously I could have explained it off either way. If Cabana had won, he could have overcome the distraction to get the victory. But Abyss gets the victory, defeating Colt Cabana. And, where does this leave things with the issues there? I mean, Colt Cabana has now taken a loss here again. I think he did lose at Slammiversary, now I'm thinking about it. So, it's leaving him in kind of a rough position for him. But Abyss continuing to show kind of the monster that he is. And honestly, if I'm Shelton Benjamin as the world champion, I don't know that I want to face Abyss. Abyss is a scary monster. I don't know if I want to face him. Like, I not like scary monsters and like, oh my god, I'm so scared of him. But just like, Abyss is a powerhouse. He's he's just a destructive force in that ring. He might be a legit threat to anybody's title reign. So he might be someone to kind of keep an eye on in this BFGS as well. But he does pick up the victory and get 3 points here in this matchup. And we'll have to see what continues to happen with Jimmy Jacobs and Colt Cabana at this point. We go backstage. Christy Hemme standing by with the Briscoes. Their match is up next with the Wolves. Of course, the winning team is the number 1 contenders for the tag titles. So Christy asks the Briscoes about the match. Jay says the Wolves are one hell of a tag team, but they ain't brothers like Mark and JR. And these brothers want their titles back. Mark says that they respect they respect the Wolves, that is, but they want revenge on the Machine Guns, and they're going to do whatever it takes to get that. So kind of, proving that they respect the Wolves, but they're going to do what they have to do to get their rematch, or to get a rematch with the Guns to try to get their tag titles back. Tag action gets 69 rating. This one I did expect a lack of psychology because I think only Davey in this matchup has decent psychology. I think everybody else does not have that good of psychology, but I'll take it. In a 69 rated, nice rating matchup, we see the American Wolves defeat the Briscoes in 14-27 when Davey Richards gets Mark Briscoe to submit to an ankle lock. That means that the Wolves are the number 1 contenders for the tag team titles. So at some point in the near future, the Motor City Machine Guns, who were at the commentary table running down both teams the entire match, at some point the Guns will have to defend the titles against the Wolves, and that's going to be Very interesting indeed. A very interesting matchup that should be really good. But yeah, nice match here as the Wolves pick up the victory. We'll have to see what happens with the Briscoes at this point. I mean, they lose here, and they're not getting the next title match, but maybe they're gonna get the next, the next title match or whatever kind of thing. We'll have to see. But Wolves getting the victory here. We move on to our other tag team matchup. A lot of tag team matches on the show, I just realized. Not a whole lot, but just a fair amount. As Bad Influence actually defeat Kurt Angle and Charles Betts in 12:39 when Christopher Daniels pinned Charles Betts illegally using the ropes for leverage. 79 rated matchup. My God. Bad Influence get the victory here. Did I know before that Kurt Angle and Charles Betts showed excellent chemistry teaming together? I don't remember if I knew that. Because I don't think that was the case in 2020. And this might have been the first time they teamed up in this game. I don't know, maybe I did know. Anyway, really great match here. Could have been the main, honestly. 79 rating. But, there you go. Yeah, it was tainted. Daniels used the ropes for leverage. But Charles Betts officially suffers his first loss here in TNA. He had that no contest before with when this match ran a few weeks ago on Impact. It went to a no contest, but this is the first time that Charles Betts has officially lost here in TNA. And it kind of goes over that afterwards. As Bad Influence leave the ring, doing an over the top celebration. They're acting as if they just won, the tag team titles or the biggest prize, and it's like their biggest victory ever. They're going over the top about it. As Kurt Angle kind of checks on Charles Betts, the commentator talk about how that's his first loss here in TNA, and where things could go from there for him. With Mike Tenay actually kind of saying the line, well, that might it's his first loss and it might be a struggle bouncing back from it, but at least now it's out of the way, and so maybe it won't maybe it won't be as much of an issue for him heading forward or something like that. Daniels and Kaz continue to do their overtop celebration as Angle looks on at the two with some kind of a little bit of building anger. It's kind of one of those things where you can see the anger starting to build up in his face a little bit. So looks like things might not be done between these two teams here, but there you go. Christopher Daniels stealing one here tonight at Destination X. We get a 66 rated matchup, or a segment that is, where Velvet Sky comes to the ring for her match. That's actually getting a 66 for this is really good. Holy hell. She gets a mic and tells Maria that she's waiting to see who the surprise for her is. She doesn't really care, though, because she's the Knockouts champion. She's been the Knockouts champion for 200 plus days. Nobody's taking the title from her. Maria comes out and says, I gotta admit something. Myself and Daredevil, we've had some accusations towards us about being biased here in TNA. We've had some accusations delivered by certain people about us being biased, about us being unfair to everybody here on the roster. And we want to prove that we're not that way. We want to prove that we're not biased. So tonight, someone's getting a title shot who hasn't had one in a while. Someone who's a former Knockouts champion who feels kind of slighted about not being in the Knockouts BFGS. And that's when Mickie James' music hits, and Velvet looks annoyed by this as Mickie comes out for the title match. So it's going to be Velvet Sky versus Mickie James here tonight. Here up next, that is, for the TNA Knockouts Championship. Mickie James, of course, hasn't had a title shot since Final Resolution last year, I believe. Yeah, I think it was since December of last year. So getting her first title shot in 7 months. And gets a 57. Bit underwhelming. As Mickie James defeats Velvet Sky in 13-12 by countout. So Velvet, it's a back and forth matchup. Mickie kind of looks like she's kind of in control. Of course, the crowd's kind of unsure how to react to this matchup because both of them are heels. Both of them are bad. Velvet's trying to cheat. Mickey's kind of cheating, but also kind of not, which is kind of weird. It's kind of this weird position. It's one of those weird little things where it seems like over the last few weeks, even with them being upset about not being in the BFGSs and all that, is this weird little thing where Magnus and Mickey James seem to be kind of becoming a little bit more tweeners than heels. If we want to, use those kind of terms, they're starting to become a little bit more not as heelish as they used to be, which is kind of weird. But both women going at it for this, but eventually, it's one of those things where Mickey sets up, towards the end of the match, Mickey sets up Velvet for the chick kick, and goes for it over, but Velvet's able to avoid it, get out of the ring, and she just says, screw this. She grabs the championship and she walks out. She walks off over to the back, and Mickey wins by countout. So, title successfully retained by Velvet Sky, I guess. Even if she took the coward's way out and got counted out for it. That is, kind of the rule for that. I mean, it's the champion's advantage. They're able to, if they, they're able to retain their title even by countout or disqualification. So 57 here. Bit underwhelming for this matchup, but to be fair, the crowd probably wasn't super into the fact that this ended in a countout. So, but there is that. I want to check really quick and see. Oh, lack of an associated storyline. Yeah, that makes sense. I didn't necessarily want to do this as a storyline. If there was a storyline involved, it probably would have been low 60s for this. But I might, because I do have a storyline. I do have kind of a story planned out for it. I just wasn't thinking about turning it into an actual in-game storyline, but I might have to now. But yeah, there's that. So Mickey James wins. Mickey James has a victory over the Knockouts champion, but it is by countout. So we'll have to see what ends up happening with that. Then, before our main event, we have Christy Hemme standing by backstage with MVP and the TNA World Heavyweight Champion, Shelton Benjamin. She asks the two about their thoughts before the match up next. MVP says that their thoughts are simple. They're going to go out there, and they're going to beat down their opponents. Because that's what the beatdown crew does. They beat people down. Shelton Benjamin is the greatest TNA World Champion of all time. And these two former jokes of champions will fall to him. Simple as that. The two walk off. 68 here. Good stuff. Christy was very underwhelming. This is why I've put Christy on a lot of segments here tonight. I'm trying to get her built up a little bit more. Obviously, as I mentioned before, not to like a Gene Okerlund level or whatever, but at least to a point where she can help raise up some angles, but still comes off as kind of underwhelming in segments like this, where it's like she's kind of out of her depth when it comes to someone, when it comes to interviewing someone like MVP, who's really good at talking. So, but there's that. Main event time. It's an 82 rating. Let's go. Good stuff. As in a superb matchup, Magnus and Samoa Joe actually get the victory in 16-13 when Magnus pins MVP with a Tormentum. A lot of interference indeed in this matchup. The Strong South Thugs, Eddie Kingston and Homicide, came out and attacked Joe about 2/3 of the way through the matchup, kind of weakening him down some. But AJ Styles came running out. came running out and chased them off, caused a bit of a distraction. It says interfered against MVP. I would like it, and maybe it's not possible, but I would like the ability to have a saving the day thing happen in a match setting like this. Because that's kind of the idea, is that AJ Styles comes running out to chase off the BDC. But I couldn't really put it as that, or not the BDC, to chase off the Strong South Thugs, really. But I couldn't really put it as that. I couldn't really put it as he fought off the interferers. So, I guess I could have done a distraction against MVP, but it doesn't, attack or distraction, it doesn't really matter. But he helps fight off Homicide, and Eddie Kingston kind of helps get them away from the situation. And so it kind of goes back to a 2-on-2 setting, although Joe's, a bit weakened after that attack. But Magnus and Samoa Joe are still able to work together enough to, Joe ends up kind of, towards the end of the matchup, Joe ends up barreling into Shelton Benjamin, sending both men down. It's kind of one of those things where Benjamin's on the apron, and Joe comes running across the ring and just dives through the apron into him, and both men come crashing. Both men go crashing to the outside. And MVP ends up getting laid out by Magnus and then hit with the Tormentum for the victory. 82 rating here. That's the end of the show. So Magnus and Samoa Joe getting a victory over the tag team, or over the team that features the world champion. So what is that going to mean? I will do a little peek behind the curtain here. I wanted Magnus to originally pin Shelton Benjamin to really set up the fact that maybe Magnus should be getting a shot at the world title, but Benjamin was not having it. Benjamin was like, "You are not on my level." So I'm gonna have to sweet talk Benjamin into a little bit of a thing with that, I guess. But not that he's getting the title, but it's just might have to kind of work, maybe build up Magnus a little bit more with that, so that if I decide to pull the trigger on that I don't have that issue. Nevertheless, does this mean that Magnus could get a shot at the world title in the near future? Does this mean that Joe could get a shot at the world title in the future? I mean, Magnus got the pinfall, but part of the reason why Magnus was able to convince Joe to work together here tonight was because Magnus was kind of talking about how Joe didn't really have anybody watching his back and all that in his previous opportunities. So maybe Joe wants a shot at the title instead. We'll have to see. A lot of people wanting a shot at Shelton Benjamin's world title. We'll have to see what ends up happening with that. Destination X gets an 81 rating. My God. Good stuff there. Increased our popularity to 26 regions. A lot of restrictions. Broadcasters that I'm going to have to work on, but it's going to take a little bit because those broadcasters have deals with us that are a bit lengthy. So we're going to have to slowly work our way out of being restricted by some of these places, including all of Mexico, by the way. If I remember right, I think there's only 6 Mexican regions, so we're getting restricted in all of Mexico right now. But the show did benefit from having quite a wide selection of angles, so that's good that we had Chrissy Hemme doing all those interviews here tonight as well. But yeah, I'll take an 81. I will take an 81. I'm gonna address the locker room. I should have been paying attention to individual performances. Let's give Shelton Benjamin some praise. Oh, I get to do a media scrum. I forgot about that. Let's see. Let's give. I mean, some of these people don't really need it at this point, but we'll do it anyway. And then what was another great performance I saw? Which is funny because these two so far are ones that took losses, or at least their teams took losses. I could have had Benjamin actually get pinned in that main event and then just done this afterwards to help try to balance it out, but whatever. You know what? Thank you, Lethal, for losing as well. Everybody's losing. All the losers are through that there. Oh my God, we made $3 million on this show. Let's go. We made $3 million on our pay-per-view. Let's go. That is crazy. That is crazy. Popularity recap. Look at that. Most of America, we went up a full point. Or went up to the next point, I guess, so to speak. Couple areas in Canada, we went up to the next point. Yeah, all of Mexico is being restricted right now. I don't know what's going on with England. We might be restricted there too. Japan, couple regions, we went up a point. Europe, everywhere except for Central Europe, we went up a point. I don't know why that. That's weird. New Zealand, we went up a point. Let's go. I'll take it. Media scrum time. How are you intending to use your new signing, Raymond Rowe? Oh. Of course, we signed Rowe and Hansen, the War Machine, recently. And they are I think I've only had him use. I don't think I've only had him in like one match so far. They're gonna be part of our tag division, heading forward, but I don't know if I necessarily have like big plans for them at the moment. So, yeah, we're gonna go with this last one. We have a very competitive roster, so it'll be down to how well he fits in and how hard he works. Of course, it asks the same thing about Hanson. All right, well, same answer. We recently seen Eddie Kingston sporting a new muscular look. Are you impressed with his commitment to improving his physique? Huh. Interesting. He hit the gym. Is that meant to impress me? Um, Impressive will definitely result in a bigger focus on him. Let's go with the first one. I'm happy to see such commitment. It's a good sign. How concerned are you by the off night that Abyss had? Do you consider him to be too unreliable to trust? I didn't realize he really had an off night, I guess. Yeah, everyone has off nights from time to time. Give him a break. Saw Brian Kendrick have an off night tonight. Is his inconsistency gonna hold him back in TNA? I'm kind of souring a little bit on Brian Kendrick recently. He really hasn't really been improving too much, and honestly, I have been looking about. I've looked a couple times into possibly getting rid of him, but then I keep remembering that he has a really like I think it's said as like a deep friendship with Paul London, and so I don't want to piss off London by getting rid of him. So kind of jobbing him out a little bit. He's good. He's just not. He just isn't really improving at all, and he's not really. He's having a fair amount of off nights and all that, so he's just not really doing it for us. Um, we're just gonna say I'm sure it was a one-off though. I don't want to be a dick about it right now, so I'm sure it was a one-off. Chris Sabin is coming to the end of his current deal. Do you see him signing an extension? I didn't realize his deal's coming up soon. It's not an enormous blow. I mean, he's really good, but I don't necessarily know if it's an enormous blow. He's a big part of the TNA family. We'll, of course, be offering him a new deal. Due to her relationship with Chris Sabin, Velvet Sky was pleased by your response. Well, that's good. They are still officially dating in this save, so that's good to see. Although not on your roster due to his relationship with Chris Sabin, Scott D'Amore was pleased by your response. Scott D'Amore, who is not here in TNA anymore, is happy to see that that we said that. That's kind of cool, though. I didn't realize that it could that you could get bonuses for people outside of your company for what you had to say. So that's pretty cool. That means if we were to consider bringing in Scott D'Amore again in the future or something like that, he'd be a bit more likely to want to come in because he'd be more pleased with us. So that's pretty cool. All right, media scrum's completed. Post show is done. So there's that. We did a media scrum here in TNA. And all we really got from it was a bit better of a relationship with Velvet Sky and Scott D'Amore. Not that that's a problem, but I was hoping for maybe a little bit better out of that. But there's that. There is that. I just love this first story. Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson are bonding. I wonder. No way. Those two bonding? Nah, you're crazy. That's funny. They're now travel buddies. They weren't before? Why are they just now set to a positive opinion? That's hilarious. that is funny. Destination X. Feedback has been excellent. Good to see there. Sonata is dating Agnes Sakala. That's awesome. Sonata and Act are dating now, huh? All right. That's that is interesting. Is Act an actual active wrestler? Probably not. I gotta imagine she is still officially retired. No, she's an actual active wrestler at this point. Hmm, interesting. She can't work in America though, so we can't bring her in. But she's one half of the Goddess of Stardom champions with Kyrie. Interesting. Um. Anyway, that's a different thing in itself. Go back to this. Um. That's a great story too. Pablo Marino is on the rise. I like for those who have don't who aren't super familiar with it. I always appreciate looking at this kind of stuff. The perfect head kick. He's a game generated character. He has adopted the perfect head kick as a finishing move. Interesting. But yeah, I always like looking at that stuff because um, anytime it's like that over, that means that they have like excellent potential. So it would be somebody to really keep an eye on for. But we can't really bring him in either unless we hit a certain status and all that. Anyway, we had basically no competition tonight. This was a TV show. Saw Matt Jackson retain the Open the Freedom Gate title against low-key Johnny Gargano and John Hennigan, which is a lot of something. They also had another TV show that saw Bully Ray brother Devon defeat Scott Steiner and Nick Jackson. What? What? The third young buck, Scott Steiner. All right. And then CCW had their show as well. So we didn't really have any competitions for Destination X. But there's that. Let's see. I want to see. Just because I want to try to see this. Hey, they donated to charity a couple days ago. That's interesting. We'll see how we paired up against Battleground. So they got an 83 show rating wise, which is a little bit better than ours. Saw Bray Wyatt defeat Damian Sandow in the main event to retain the world title. Daniel Bryan defeated Brock Lesnar. Elias defeated The Miz. Christian defeated Sheamus in a 91 rated matchup. Holy hell. Del Rio defeated Big E. William Regal, the Intercontinental Champion, still there. The Shield defeated Primetime Players, and Darkness Falls. Which, of course, is Fandango and Kevin Owens. All right. Batista defeated Big Zeke. Good God, that would have been a match. Sting, Kofi Kingston, and R-Truth defeated Brad Maddox. And I'm guessing that's Harper and Rowan. Yeah. That's all right. That's a thing. Natalya defeated Lana in a 71 rated matchup. Good God, Natalya carried that one. Alex Riley defeated Albert because apparently Albert is set to be an active wrestler at this point still. Brodus Clay defeated Hornswoggle, Tyson Kidd, and Sami Zayn in an opening 4-way matchup. All right. I guess. Huh. Well, there's that. There's a look at double E right now. So they did a thing. They did some stuff. They had, a lot more viewers than we did and all that, but that's to be expected. It's to be expected. But I'll still take an 81. 81, is only 2 points behind their Battleground show. So I'll still take it. So we are continuing to climb, continuing to rise, continuing to get places that we can get to and kind of see where things go from there. So the next episode of this series will be another episode of Impact and Explosion. We'll have kind of fallout from Destination X stuff. What happens with Mickie James and Velvet Sky, what happens with Magnus and Samoa Joe and the world champion, Shelton Benjamin. When is the Wolves getting their tag title match? And of course, we'll continue on in the 2 BFGSs and see who can get points, who can continue to get points, that is. We will take a look at that really quick. I just remembered that, that I wanted to do that. So on the knockout side, right now, after 3 matches for everyone, we have Cheerleader Melissa and April Mendez, both with 9 points apiece. They are undefeated right now. So eventually those two are going to end up going at it, which should be very interesting to see. Tied for second place right now is Rosemary and Mio Shirai. Of course, Mio Shirai picking up the victory on the pre-show here, so that puts her into a tie for second place with 6 points each. Sitting at 3 points, Hikaru Shida, Io Shirai, Serena Deeb, and Kana. Kana's actually taken... That's right, Kana did take 2 losses in this so far. She lost to Serena Deeb, too. I forgot about that. So Kana kind of struggling in the BFGS, which is kind of surprising with how dominant she was for a while there. So there's that, and then Angelina Love and Kairi Hojo both sitting at 1 point apiece on the knockout side. On the men's side, currently in the lead is Roderick Strong, the only man who's undefeated so far through 3 matches with 9 points apiece. Abyss, Dinero, Cabana, Lethal, and EC3 all with 6 points apiece, so very closely knit, or very close there together. Adam Cole, Punishment Martinez with 3 points apiece, and then Chris Hero and Zima Ion still have yet to get any points in this series, so we will have to see who continues on in both of the BFGSs, continues to look, continues to try to get their shot at the respective championships at Bound for Glory. But that is going to do it for this episode. Thank you all for watching. Definitely appreciate it. Next time in this series, we'll be continuing on with our Impact and Explosions as we build towards Hard Justice. And we'll go from there. So thank you all for watching, and we will see you in the next video.